Welcome back to Ion Foxborough. I'm Karen Guregian, and today I am honored to have with me Patriots Hall of Famer and legendary offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia. Welcome, Dante.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on this show.
My goodness, you've coached the Patriots offensive line forever, 20 seasons or so, retired in 2020. You were inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, and that was a wonderful ceremony. I know you know a thing or two about offensive lines, and obviously week one is upon us. And there's been a lot of panic about the current offensive line. You've been in Scott Peters' shoes. You've had to make more out of less. How were you able to constantly make that happen over time?
I don't know other than we had a lot of players that truly bought into what we were doing and how we were doing it, and uh, and I would say that the culture within the room was always a huge factor. Where the players would say, "Hey, look at," they would grab a young guy, take him aside, and say, "Hey, look at." This is how things are done around here. This is how we're going to do them. And, um, sometimes he may not be the most diplomatic coach you've ever had, but, there's a, method in his madness, and there's method, you know, it may not come out as nice as you'd like to hear it, but, it's just going to be that way. So that was always a good thing. And I think the strongest thing. And, look at, you don't have to have the most talented players, but they certainly have to have enough talent to play in the league. And then if they are less talented, they have to do things exactly the right way. And if they do, they have a chance to hold up and actually, play pretty well. And then the other thing is we always had backs that had good vision, vision. Vision's a really number one thing for a running back in the run game, because when if it's not always there, they'll find it, and go popping through. And we've had plenty of backs that did that. And then we had Tom Brady, who was a rhythm passer, and get the ball out on time and not really hold it very long. And you could. I watched him. I marveled at him when I retired down when I watched him at Tampa and saw him at the line of scrimmage, and he just said he knows where he's going right now with the ball. And as soon as he got the ball, it was out. So all those things were big factors.
Mm. I know you know Scott Peters, the current offensive line coach. What's your take on him and his strike system that he's been trying to teach?
I am not at all familiar with the strike system, and I don't ask him, and I didn't ask, and I never talked to the players. So I'm not familiar with it. I don't know if it's a pass protection technique. I've heard the phrase, or is it more for runs or whatever? But it's a philosophy that he has, and it's a way of saying things and doing things and getting things, done the way he wants them to do it. And I know him. I know that he's a hardworking guy and a diligent guy, and he's worked for you know a really, really good other coaches, and on other teams that he's been on. And he's had a lot of exposure, a lot of good football coaches, so I'm sure he's a good football coach.
Mm. My understanding is he's very good with technique, which you were, but is there also uh, something to be said about being able to put the guys in the right place, or the best five, or however you configure that five? Is there something strategic to go along with that as well?
Yeah, I'm going to say two things. I've always believed this, and I've told the players this many times: there's no right way or there's no wrong way in this game. Those guys that are over on other teams, they have their way of doing things. We have our way of doing things. So there's their way, there's their way, there's their way, there's our way. And if everyone buys into that, we're okay. We're going to be okay. right? And then the second thing, getting the guys in the right places, okay? And I've always believed this, you have to be smart, you have to be tough, and you have to be athletic enough to play the positions we want you to play. So if you draft a guy to play left tackle, and he better have left tackle skills. And if your quarterback's a right-hander, that means he's got to be able to protect the blind side of the quarterback. And that's the difference between the right tackle and left tackle. It takes a little bit more skillful guy to play left tackle than it does right tackle because that is the quarterback's blind side. So, I think that, to get those guys in the right places is hugely important. And then inside, your center has to be a leader. The guards, they have to be tough and physical and be able to anchor the middle of a pocket in pass protection. The tackles have to be athletic enough to defend the edge and not give free runners, rushers a free pass around the edge or inside, never inside. But if you can get those guys to play those positions and understand how those positions are played, then I think that's the key to it all.
Many of us have watched and, seen the primary area where the problem area is being tackled. They have a couple of right tackles, who are trying to move to the left side, one being Chukwuekorfor, the other being a rookie, Caden Wallace. They had Vidarian Lowe over on the left side, and he was doing fairly well, but now he's hurt. Is the key they had to move Michael Onwenu over. Is the key to try and if you shore up one side, you can help with the second side? Is that kind of,
Yeah.
if you didn't have tackle depth? Yeah.
Yeah. Look at if you can say, hey, look, our right tackle is really good, or our left tackle is really good. Okay. Like as an example, the last year, second to last year I coached, we had Trent, who played really at a very high level for half the second half of the year. And if all, you look over and say, he's fine, we're okay here. Let's push the protection to the other side. Or when you get into a situation where, the guy's really going to have a problem, because look if you got a right-hand quarterback, they want their best rusher out there on the left tackle so he can come in on the blind side, like Dwight Freeney from the Indianapolis Colts. We knew that was always going to be hard, and Matt Light certainly was capable of blocking him. But when you're in the the Hoosier Dome and it's loud, you're in silent count. Here's this guy all geeked up to rush off the edge. You can say Matt's okay, but it's going to be hard for him. So what do? You put the tight end over there, number one, not necessarily telling them to chip the defensive end, but putting him in there so that the defensive end doesn't have an open edge to run through. It means he's got to get a little wider so that Matt can get out there faster. And it's those types of things, or slide the protection to that rusher to minimize the space he has to maneuver and all that. So those are the things you have to do. And look at those aren't secrets. That's just part of the whole deal. Everyone deals with that. And I'm sure if they have those issues, that's what they're trying to do now.
Is it a tough call for an offensive line coach when you have somebody, your best lineman, Michael Onwenu, who a lot of people feel is an all-pro guard, to have to move him over to tackle because that's kind of your best option? Is that a tough decision to make?
I think that, given the set of circumstances that they currently have, not exactly sure at left tackle. And, if you can, again, eliminate one side, okay, we have to move Mike out to right tackle. We think he's going to be fine out there. He's proven he can be fine out there. Now let's do whatever we have to do to help the left side. Minimize the help side. If you got two sides that need help,
Hmm.
circle the wagons. It's going to be tough.
If a team is having trouble with the offensive line or trying to work out the pieces as the Patriots still are, do you think it was kind of wise to keep the rookie quarterback away from that for a while until he's ready or the offensive line is ready to protect him?
I don't know those two things. I know everyone's has raved a lot about May and the kind of last two games that he played, and the skills that he's shown, and all the rest of that. Um, I don't. I think that that's a decision that they've made based on what they think is best for the football team, and maybe some of Drake May's health and jeopardizing that health may come into play. I think there are also you get into that deal about that happened, and I'll use this guy's name, Zach Wilson.
Hmm.
Okay, that was so hard for him his first 2 3 years, 2 years really, that guy, get out there, you have all these skills and all the rest of it, but then confidence and not wanting to fail, all those things come into play too. So it's a fine line you got to dance on that. And they've made their decision, whether that was in consideration or they honestly believe, as they've said, or that's coming out of there, that Jacoby's the guy and he's most ready to play.
Hmm.
So whatever they're saying, they believe, I guess.
Were you here for Jacoby's 1 year? I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
Yep. That was the year I came back.
Yep. Because I knew there was a, a lull in there and you came back twice. So, what's your take on him?
I like him. He's showed a lot of maturity. He certainly played really well for us. So we started out with Jimmy Garoppolo, and in the second game that he started, because Tom was
Suspended.
he was suspended, right,
Yeah.
for 4 games. Half of the first quarter of the second game, we had beaten the Cardinals in Arizona in a great game. Jimmy played really well. The first quarter of the Miami game, he throws like 4 touchdown
Yeah.
passes. Then he gets hurt. And so now it's Jacoby time. The next week we beat a really good Houston team.
Houston. Yep.
And then we really didn't play very well against Buffalo, and to their credit, they played very well. So, but in that game and a half that Jacoby was in there, he gave you a lot of hope, and so that's my experience with him. And I love the kid. He's a nice guy, and I wish nothing but the best for him, and I hope he's able to manage the team and be the guy that goes out there and doesn't make any mistakes, and and has enough, and throws enough, makes enough big plays in the passing game to keep the chains moving and hopefully get some points.
Hmm. Do you have any familiarity with Alex Van Pelt?
I don't know Alex at all.
Hmm.
Met him one time.
Met him one time.
Yeah,
Well, we have the whole Cleveland staff is now kind of running the offense, so
right.
we'll find out soon enough. Um, just getting back to the offensive line for a second, Coach Peters has been mixing and matching and trying to find the right combination, trying to plug holes for injured players. Will it take them a while once they finally get settled? I mean, they haven't really had continuity yet. And I know continuity was an important asset or factor for you with the line, having the guys know each other's
Yeah.
movements and things like that. Can you talk about the importance of that continuity?
It's hugely important. Now they have one key factor in there, with David or
David.
Andrews.
Yep.
He's going to make the right whole line calls that are going to be appropriate for whatever they're getting. He will take care of that part of it. All right. So relative to the inside three, those guys are in good hands. Relative to all five, and that's based on scheme. No, the mic's over here. We're going to do this to take care of our basic responsibility. And, I think all that David's going to control that. The key issue is, if when you had Onwenu as the right guard, he could help. He's going to take care of the right tackle because he's been here. This is his 4th year now. He's
Yeah.
going to be fine. okay? It's now on the left side with a new left guard and a new left tackle, where you got to hope that the communication between those two is good. The other thing I would say, going back to Coach Van Pelt and Scott and the Cleveland guys, quote unquote, they were in an awful good system. They ran the ball very well. They protected the quarterback very well. Bill Callahan was the offensive line coach. Scott helped him, Alex and all that. And so you got to hope that, and I've seen this in the games that plays that I've watched in the preseason. I think they run the ball pretty good. Okay. The gap runs, the zone runs, they look like they're really doing pretty good with that stuff. So you hope that enough of that materializes here in these games going forward, where they can control the ball offensively by running it, be selective in the passing game, not get into those extremely tough down and distance situations. And a lot of that is they can't have the penalties that they've had in the preseason. I mean, to start the games at first and or series at 1st and 15 for whatever the reasons, or second and 20. If they're down in distance situations or so far behind, it's really going to be hard. So they got to stay ahead of schedule on down and distance.
Can you fathom a lineman being called 3 times for not lining up properly?
I think that's, penalties are the result of a number of things: poor judgment, poor technique, okay, or mental lapses. And, I don't know where one of those fits, but I would say this, it's not that hard, where the guard sets the alignment for the tackle. Wherever the guard puts his up foot toe, the tackle puts his up foot toe on the guards. I mean, that's it. Look down there. There's his inside toe. Get your inside toe on his. Everybody's going to be in one line. So you can minimize. I mean, look at it's being taught that way throughout the league. And I don't know. I don't understand. I saw it. I didn't understand it. It was frustrating. I'm sure it was frustrating to the players. And hopefully it's a lesson learned in that situation.
I'll let you go in a second, but of course, I hear from readers and whatnot, will Dante come back a 3rd time? Can he come back? And I always tell them, you are happily retired. End of story. You're not coming back. I'm guessing nothing would move you to return.
No, I'm good. Look, I'm 76. That's enough. I've done it for a long time. I really don't feel like I'm missing anything. I was on the beach in Narragansett, where we had our grandkids down there. We had a really great day on Memorial Day, and I was thinking, well, that was going on. I wouldn't be here today if I was coaching football, and I'm not letting that go. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I love the game, and as much, Karen, I love teaching the game. Okay. But those days are over. And I've had 48 great years of it, and that's plenty. It's time for others.
And I know you've started to take up pickleball. You're playing every day, is that right?
Yeah, in fact, I was playing before I came here, before I came back for the interview. I had as bad a day playing pickleball as I've had in a long time, but I love it. It's so much fun. And, my life is full. It's so full of things to do. And I got the rest of my day planned. And my days aren't any different than they were when I coached. I plan them all out. I have a regular routine. I get up at 4 every morning. I read. I know that I want to do the rest of the day, and I do it. And I have a great time.
Well, I think that's wonderful, and I'm thankful you took the time with us on Ion Foxborough, and I'll bet you'll be better at pickleball tomorrow.
One can only hope.
Thank you, Dante.
You're welcome, Karen. Always good to talk to you. Oh, now it's good to see you. Stay healthy, and I'll look forward to the next time.